Coach, the Broncos coming off a loss at Iowa. Start with an opening statement on what you learned from that and what you addressed in practice this week heading into the MAC opener at Toledo.
Yeah, another game where we up against a Power Five opponent on the road, where we came out, started really fast, scored first, and drew first blood. Just again, second game in a row where mistakes, penalties, some turnovers, explosive plays, and then giving up some points in the kicking game. Not good enough to win. But I think that there were some things to take away from this game that I was proud of. And I think that if we take care of our mistakes, we put ourselves in position to be successful moving forward. I think the big thing to remember is, and I told our team this, progress is a process, and we have to continue to work on getting a little bit better each and every week, which I think that we've done. I think that we made incremental gains and improvements this past week, which was exciting to see. We gave ourselves a chance against a really tough Iowa team into the third quarter and played well, just not well enough and mistake-free enough to win the football game. Our guys are really excited. It's our first MAC game this week against Toledo. Great opponent, led by Jason Candle, MAC champions last year. So our guys are excited about the test ahead and excited to get into MAC play.
Defense got 4 sacks, season high last week against Iowa, and even then pressured the quarterback quite a bit more, forcing 2 turnovers. They gave up a handful of big plays, but were you pleased with their effort and the outcome there?
Yeah, I thought our defense played really well. We had a season-high sacks and turnovers, which were 2 things that we stressed going into that football game. So I was really proud of our defense. I thought that they played really physical against a really physical offensive unit. We do have to eliminate the explosive plays. I mean, those continue to show up week after week. I mean, we have 3 or 4 really good plays where it's, no gains, TFLs, or, keeping them inefficient. But then, 2 or 3 plays of explosive gains where negates everything well that we've done. So I think the thing for us as a football team right now, we have to be more consistent in all 3 phases. I think we're doing some really good things, some positive things. We're making some improvements. But what we have to do is show consistency in all 3 phases for us to be a really good football team.
These last couple weeks, getting off to such hot starts, such quick starts, what have you guys kind of been able to take away from that of what this team is made of to be able to jump out to leads like that against Power 5 opponents?
Yeah, I think it shows our guys that we're a talented football team, that when we execute at a high level, we can play with anybody, but we're not good enough to beat ourselves. And so, when you make enough mistakes, I think what our football team has learned is when we play well, we can play with anybody in the country, anybody on our schedule that's left. We can play at a high level, but when we don't, we're not good enough to beat ourselves and still beat a good football team.
In looking at the first halves from the last 2 weeks, Syracuse obviously a little bit tougher, but to maybe see some of those adjustments from the Syracuse game to the Iowa game, what did you guys kind of see, from one first half to the second first half of just how they kind of compose themselves as a whole?
Yeah. Again, I thought our guys did a much better job controlling and channeling their emotions in this game. We talked about after the Syracuse game, I thought we scored early and we allowed ourselves to get too high emotionally, and kind of ride the roller coaster of emotions when we did not play very sound, smart football. I thought different than the Syracuse game. I thought we handled our emotions well. We just didn't execute well enough in the second half. When you're not able to sustain drives and convert on third downs offensively, keep your football team on the field, and then you get yourself backed up, which puts your punt team in a tough situation. We give up a blocked punt for points. That's a tough situation, and then obviously it starts to, the crowd starts to get into it, and it starts to snowball on you pretty quickly.
You mentioned those emotions, trying to keep them in check. Going into the conference opener, obviously guys are going to be hyped for it. So how do you guys make sure that it's refined to competing, opening strong or, playing strong throughout, but again, not letting it get away from themselves?
Yeah, I thought again, I thought that was improvement from the Syracuse game to the Iowa game. I thought we had a much better one snap focus. I mean, one of the things that you even saw was, we opened up the scoring and got ahead, and then we had a rain delay. We came out and still played well throughout the end of the first half. A lot of that comes down to execution, and so again, it comes down to that one snap focus, doing my job every single play, and then a reset and refocus mentality to reset for the next play. No matter whether the last play was positive or it was negative, I've got a job to do the next play, and trusting the guys around me to do their jobs. So I think that's one thing that we've learned. I think that this is a really good football team on both sides of the football. We know them well; they know us well. I think our guys will be excited to get into MAC play and play a conference opponent. It's going to be my first conference opponent as a head coach, so I'm excited about that. But again, not allowing our emotions to control us, more so allowing our habits to take over.
You still had some quarterback questions going into this game, and then 2 weeks ago you played 3 quarterbacks in that game. Do you have some clarity at that position now, or did you like what you saw against Iowa, or do you still have some questions?
Yeah, I like what I saw. We played multiple quarterbacks by design last week, and honestly, I thought both of them did a nice job moving the football, or moving our football team and moving the football down the field offensively. I think Trayson did a much better job scoring points and taking advantage of some opportunities that he had. I mean, when you look at that defense, I mean, that's probably a top 5 defense in the country. For him to make a couple of really, pinpoint accurate throws to move our offense and have multiple scoring opportunities. I mean, that defense is one of the best in the country at limiting explosive plays, and we had an explosive play for a touchdown early in the game. So, I thought Trayson did a nice job maximizing his opportunities. I think he's gained more, opportunity moving forward, and he did a really nice job in the game.
Coach, you played 2 really physical football teams here the last 2 weeks. How's your team coming out of those 2 games physically?
Yeah, 2 really physical games. We've said that we want to play fast and physical, and that's been tested in the first couple of games, first several games. I think our guys have rose to the challenge each week. I was proud again last week. I thought our guys fought for 60 minutes. I mean, that is a physical, hard-nosed, big football team in Iowa that just wears you down. They wear opponents down. They play mistake-free and don't beat themselves. So, again, I thought the fight and the grit to play 60 minutes was very positive, that our guys fought for 60 minutes no matter the score, no matter what situation we put them in. So that part was great. And we're going to play another physical team this week in Toledo. I mean, when you look at how they played Illinois, who is a physical football team, prides itself on running the football, I thought they were the most physical team in that Illinois game, which shows you something. I mean, they're physical on both sides. I mean, I think they're leading, in multiple categories on the offensive side of the ball. I think they're one of the top defenses in the MAC on the defensive side of the ball. They're well coached. They're disciplined. They play hard. They've got good team speed, and they've got veteran leadership coming back. So we're going to have to play our best again this week, and we're going to have to play our brand of football, which is physical and fast, but execute at a high level.
What is your impression of the Mid-American Conference coming from outside the MAC? I'm sure you've competed against MAC teams over the course of your career as an assistant coach, but what's your impression of the MAC?
Really good conference with really good football players, great coaches. I have played against the MAC, and they're always tough games. In fact, I played Toledo several years ago when I was at Notre Dame, and they took us right down to the wire. Honestly, probably, should have beaten us, except for, a 2-minute drive there at the end where we went down and scored. You saw what Miami did this past week against Cincinnati. I mean, the competition in the MAC is really good football. We've got really good football players, and the parity within the league is so great. I mean, there's no team that necessarily separates itself. Each game comes. That's when I call them action. Those tight scoring games in November that are 1-score games are exciting games to watch.
And Daquan Finn is an outstanding quarterback. What do you see on tape watching Daquan Finn?
He is. He's an excellent football player. He's played in a lot of football games. He's won a lot of football games, and he's a guy that can beat you with his arms or his leg. If he's going to take what the defense gives you, which I think is really valuable. If he sees the uncovered man, if he sees a guy open, he's going to get the football to him. But he's also going to be smart with the football, limit turnovers, and make you pay if you give him the QB run lane. So I think a guy that can beat you in multiple ways. He's won a lot of football games in this conference, and he's seen a lot of football. He's a difference maker on that side of the football for those guys.
All right, thank you, Coach.
Thanks, guys.